traditionally speaking, there is ikhtilaf, there is a difference of opinion in regards to where women could participate when it comes to the janazah, when it comes to the graveyard, when it comes to the burial. And I want to unpack this just a little bit, inshallah ta'ala, and start off with what is permissible across the board and what is prohibited across the board. So we start off with what is permissible. Attending Salatul Janazah is unanimously permitted for women, even traditionally in Islamic law, right? To go to the janazah and to pray the janazah, to attend it in the masjid or on the lawn or wherever it may be, to pray Salatul Janazah, and bidnillahi ta'ala, to have the same reward, the qirat, that is the likeness of Uhud in good deeds. Inshallah ta'ala, that's assured there. What is prohibited across the board, exceedingly prohibited in fact, and causes harm to the dead, so it's not just that it is sinful for the person but could harm the dead, is niyaha, is wailing. And in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, though wailing was prohibited for men and women, that means screaming loudly and shouting out things and tearing clothes and things of that sort. It was a particular practice that was associated in Jahiliyyah with the women that would go out and that were professionals at wailing and doing these things to show grief for the dead. And so the Prophet ﷺ prohibited and in fact cursed those that do niyaha, whether it is men or women. Now, here we have everything that's in between, right? The Salatul Janazah, which is permitted for men and women across the board unanimously, and then the niyaha, which is prohibited for men and women. And then you have what's in between, which is following the janazah and then going to visit the graveyard. When it comes to going to visit the graveyard, there is a narration from Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. She was actually returning back from the Baqi', and someone asked her, "Where are you coming from, O al-Mu'mineen, O mother of the believers, where are you coming from?" So she said, "I went to visit my brother Abdurrahman." And the response was, "Didn't the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibit that?" And Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha responded, and she said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to prohibit it. Okay? Naha an ziyarat al-qubur. He used to prohibit it. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam amara bi ziyaratiha. He in fact commanded people to go and visit the graveyards because it reminds you of death. So what Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha was saying is that the prohibition on visiting the graves was for men and women, but there is a particular emphasis on women because of the practice of niyaha. But then when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded the companions and made it not just permissible, but made it recommended to go and to visit the graves, that included women as well, so long as they continued to abstain from either being known as those that would frequent the graveyards or those that would wail excessively, mourn excessively in the graveyards, or those that would not observe the hijab in the graveyard and things of that sort. So visiting the graves, according to a large group of scholars, visiting the graveyard is permitted, especially in accordance with this narration from Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Now, some of the scholars made a differentiation between following the janazah and going to the graveyard outside of the janazah. And this is based upon, primarily narrations that aren't necessarily authentic, but there is an authentic narration from Atiyah. Atiyah radiallahu anha says that we were forbidden to accompany the janaiz. To accompany the janaiz. This means follow the procession, but not strictly. Not strictly. Now, again, where is this in the timeline? Is it when it was prohibited to do so as a whole, or is it afterwards and this remains? So many of the scholars mention a dislike, which is what seems to be indicated by Atiyah radiallahu ta'ala anha.